2, 1. Hey, everybody. We've got a few updates about not only the laws that we expect to be veto overridden, that would be the Youth Protection Act, the Fairness in Women's Sports Act, and the Parental Rights Bill. But we've got some details of some things that are going on around the state, really on the ground. I am very honored to have with me Brian from Gays Against Groomers, North Carolina. Hello, Brian. Welcome again.
Hey, son, how are you?
Doing great. Very busy.
Very
Very
busy
busy.
for us too.
Yeah. So before we get into this, tell the viewers a little bit about your group, what you're doing here in North Carolina, just quickly.
Well, Gays Against Groomers as a whole, we're a group made up of lesbian, gays, bisexual, and transsexuals, and we're against the indoctrination and sexualization of children under the guise of LGBT inclusion. And here in the state, North Carolina, mostly what we have been doing here have been, as with the bills, been supporting of the bills, waiting for the overrides. We've also been doing the Drag Queen Story Hour protest, the Drag Shows for Kids protest, and we've got a huge Charlotte Pride protest that's getting ready to come up.
Right.
The Charlotte Pride has made news in several past years, regarding children, regarding the Pride. I believe it was last year is when a 7-year-old was caught dancing on a stripper pole in uptown Charlotte during the Pride. And this year, I'm not really sure what bank it is, but one of the banks have actually sponsoring a kitty corner located at Pride. Not sure what all that's about. That's new, so we'll be checking that out as well.
All right. All right.
We're just here to expose the groomers and wherever we find them, regardless of where they're at. And there's a lot in North Carolina, as you know.
Yeah, there are a lot. In fact, I wrote a piece last week about North Carolina being more lenient than California, Rhode Island, and New York in several respects. And we've got to tighten the loopholes because, as you know, people come in and they take advantage of that. And that's exactly what we see here. That's exactly what's happening. And so we've got, as you said, some veto overrides that we are waiting for. And really what it is, let's go one by one. So the Youth Protection Act, what that's going to do is prevent not only surgeries on children, so minor surgeries, and that would be, they're going to call it gender affirming care. It's really castration, mutilation of children below the age of consent. In other words, they don't really have a chance to think about what they're doing and the lifelong consequences, but also cross-sex hormones and puberty blockers. So it will prevent that. The parental rights bill is really, really important, guys, because it will, we have a law here in North Carolina that says, look, if children are being treated for gender dysphoria or other emotional disturbances is what they call it, they don't have to get permission from parents or knowledge from parents at all to be treated. So you can see how this is a very slippery slope because we've got these psychiatrists and all of these schools, these therapists and all of these schools that can do this stuff behind parents' back. So in addition, Brian, to keeping the pornography out of really K through 3rd grade, which is nothing. We want it stronger, obviously, but the important part is that it will make sure that if therapists or doctors of any kind are going to treat children for emotional disturbances, they have got to have parental consent. Did you know, Brian, that 12 years old is the age of majority for this type of treatment in California? 0 here in North Carolina.
That I didn't know. I've learned a lot, following you and regarding, Duke, UNC, and East Carolina. That was a shocker to me. I had no idea. Up until last year, I had no idea there were even 2 of these clinics in Charlotte that perform these surgeries on children. I mean, the cosmetic concierge performing top surgeries on females, young females as young as 14 years old, and the Levine Clinic, owned by Levine, Atrium Health, and all that. I mean, they're the other ones here in Charlotte, and for them to be doing this to small children and have no repercussions for this is, I mean, we're like I've always said, we're creating a new generation that's going to grow up and hate us for what we're doing to these children's bodies. And to find out it's going on in my own backyard is quite disturbing.
Yeah, I was born in what it was called Memorial Hospital back in the day in Charlotte, and that's now Charlotte Medical Center. And I grew up right around the corner from there. And I mean, it used to be a city that wasn't overcome by progressives and just overridden by medical progressives. Of course, that's a new development. But yeah, it's terrible to see all this happening in your own backyard for sure. And so what we're doing. The ironic thing is this: is that as North Carolina was gearing up to have the clinics in Charlotte, the clinics in Greenville, the clinics in Durham and Chapel Hill and other places, Asheville, um, as that was gearing up, Tavistock, which was the oldest clinic for child sex changes in the UK, was closing down. Why? Because of slapdash type of procedures, which left a lot of children not cared for in the best way, and for these experimental treatments to leave deleterious marks on families. And so, as that's gearing up, or as we're gearing up, that's all titrating down in Europe, and it's as though it's as though these globalists, these Democrat globalists, all of a sudden they're not globalists when it comes to looking at the medical research for these things.
But I just read an article about all this being um, the American Pediatric Society and everything here in the United States are embracing these transgender treatments and everything, while Europe is getting rid of them. And I'm like, it's just like the majority of the studies have all proven that. I mean, these people can, I mean, people who are trying to justify this can find a study that's going to prove their point. But an overall average of all the studies that have been done they clearly show that 80% of these children grow out of all this if they're left alone without any pressure from an outside force, a doctor, a teacher, you know. And if we leave these children alone, they're going to grow out of this. But I mean, these people like the cosmetic concierge Levine, UNC, Duke, Chapel Hill, they've all turned this into a money-making racket. And it's like they don't want it to end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, after COVID, a lot of hospitals like ECU and UNC lost a tremendous amount of revenue. And one of the biggest losses is in pediatrics, actually. How do I know? Because we got in over 22,000 documents from ECU in the last 2 weeks. And it looks like pediatrics has taken a nosedive, and in particular, autism treatment. So what did the school do? Titrated that down and brought up the capability of the child sex change clinic, all while denying it and saying we were all wet. Your organization's stupid. We don't know what we're talking about. But the gaslighting is going to be epic. Now let's get to the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. This is a bill that will prevent males, boys and men, from competing against girls and women. One of the unique features of our bill, as opposed to Indiana, let's say, is that this bill will see to it that collegiate sports is also protected. And it's had a really good run. I think Tennessee is the most recent challenge. And at the federal level, this was kicked down. And I may be misspeaking, but I think in the federal courts, it's getting to the point, Brian, where we're going to have a circuit splitter. And that means one circuit says, you can't do that. One circuit says you can. And then that brings up the Supreme Court. But, we've got to have it.
Yeah. Two different states, if I'm not mistaken, two different states that have had their transgender sports bill laws upheld by federal judges. Great. So that should be encouragement. That should be encouragement toward the North Carolina legislature that these types of bills are being upheld by federal judges. I don't understand what the delay is. I think our only problem with those three bills are going to be, I've heard that the parental rights bill is being held up by one particular lawmaker who is claiming that it's not going far enough.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. We need to be going, pre-K to 12th, because quite frankly, sexual politics do not belong in the classroom. Having said that, we've got to close up the loopholes. We cannot allow our children to be groomed by predatory healthcare providers. Sadly, we know they exist. We wish they didn't, but we have to call it out when we see it.
All right.
Okay, Brian, so you're living in Charlotte. You're part of the community. So maybe you can fill us in about this. So there is an LGBTQ civil rights organization, or so-called, right, in Charlotte, that has, I don't know, awarded someone, a controversial person with some sort of award, and know that that has sprung your organization into action. Tell us about what that is and who this is.
Okay, it's the Charlotte Pride. They've awarded the 2023 Charlotte Pride Harvey Milk Award to Chad Turner. Chad Turner is a convicted child molester who is now currently the Carolinas LGBT Chamber of Commerce president. And we've gone from the short amount of time of Charlotte Pride history to where now we're awarding child molesters awards on stage. And it did gather our attention. It has gathered the attention of outlets around the country. And we're going to be out there protesting August 20th.
Okay. I mean, LGBTQ organizations are like any other organization. I know that we have an organization that we know about that is a straight organization, actually, that has a guy that served 7.5 years in prison for child molestation of 3 children. So it's not, LGBTQ organizations are not unique in that way to everyone else. But I'll tell you what is unique is groups like yours calling on the carpet and making be accountable people in their own groups. And you don't see that very often. You don't see it often enough. In other words, you're not seeing enough Republicans call their own out. You're not seeing enough Democrats call their own out. But that's why your group is so great, because you stand at the front of the line calling out these behaviors. I mean, it's great. Say that and I can splice it in.
Okay, and we are going to be having an event, protest to Charlotte Pride. We're meeting at Ramir Bearden Park at 300 South Church Street in Charlotte, right across from Truist Field. From there, we're going to organize and we're going to march up to the parade route. We're going to make sure that everyone knows what who the 2023 year Charlotte Pride Award recipient is. We're going to let them know about his past, because I don't think a lot of people would be appreciative of a convicted child molester receiving an award. So we're going to just go out there and make it known and let them know we do not stand for it.
No, and it makes me look bad.
Charlotte Pride likes to exclude certain groups of gays, and he's an acceptable gay that they're going to allow.
Well, I know that they don't allow or don't like Republican gays. I can tell you that from personal knowledge of that. A lot in the community have said that. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that they'll allow in a criminal, but they won't allow in a Republican. And by the way, again, this is not unique. Other organizations do this. It's not unique to the LGBTQ community, but it's very interesting that if you have a political difference with someone, you can be persona non grata, but a child molester, sure, why not?
Yeah. If anyone would like to come and join us and help us speak out against this, meet us at the park at 10. I promise you'll meet a bunch of great people who are not afraid to go up there and stand there and speak our truth. I mean, this is wrong, and it needs to be called out as wrong, and it needs to be shouted from every street corner in uptown Charlotte. Every single person at that pride needs to hear that Chad Turner is a convicted child molester.
Right, exactly. We didn't make that up, guys. We're going to put this guy's picture up right here and his record. Yeah, and God bless you guys for standing up. And as usual, in the Charlotte area, being at the front, not at the back of the line, calling this crap out. Drag shows for children, not appropriate. You guys have been on this from the very beginning at the front of the line, and we thank you for that. So, Brian, thank you for giving us this update. We're going to come back on together after this veto override happens. Apparently, it's supposed to happen sometime this week. And so today is April the 13th, excuse me, the 14th. So it's supposed to be happening sometime this week, maybe even tomorrow. So guys, all of your pleasant,
Gays Against Rumors, we're looking forward to our name being added to the other 18 states, I believe, that this child mutilation surgeries and stuff come to an end. We're hoping to add North Carolina to that this week.
Absolutely. But we're going to make sure of it. We've worked too hard on this, along with all of you out there, to see this go by the wayside. So again, pleasantly persistent phone calls from you guys, definitely wouldn't hurt. No matter if your rep is a Republican or a Democrat, they need to hear from you. So thanks again, Brian. And we're going to get back with you after these veto overrides. And thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Son. It's nice talking with you.
You too.